11 years ago, my life changed in an instant. I lost my father. He passed away, and I was with one of three siblings, one of which I do not get along with. The other one, he's kind of like my best friend. But my father said to me a couple of years before he passed, he says, "David, I'm worried. I'm worried that you've gotten fat and you're unhealthy." And this is coming from a small little guy who's probably 5'4", British, had a pipe in his hand, and he said, "David, you're fat and I'm worried." And in my head, it's not comprehending. I'm like, why is my father saying this to me now? I'm an adult. Like, what is he doing? And I think when you're a parent, you're always a parent. I don't think you'll never stop being a parent. And it took a little while for me to kind of process this. And at the time, I didn't do anything about it. I just continued living my life, whatever. And it wasn't until he passed away where I was walking down the street and I looked ahead. It was snowing. It was freezing cold. It was kind of like really blizzardy outside, right? And it was probably about 11 o'clock at night, and I needed to get outside and there was a lot of things happening in my life at that moment, and I just needed some space. So I'm kind of walking, and when you're going through grief and trauma, it's very difficult to be all cheery and happy and everything else. You're very sad. You're in that moment of grieving. And I didn't know how much I was grieving. You see, my dad and I, we had a really weird dynamic. My dad was probably late 40s when my mom had me. And my mom was in her mid 40s when she had me. So, I was kind of a surprise. My mom said that I was a gift. And my father and I, we kind of, did a lot of this. He had a funny way of showing how much, he loved somebody, but I knew that he did. And so when he said that to me, I just felt a lot of resentment, just a lot of like, who are you to tell me that? But somebody needed to tell me, because I was going the wrong way. And I had a couple of other people kind of mention something, but none of my friends really came out and told me. And I don't know if it was because they just didn't want to cross that bridge, or maybe it was something that they were dealing with, and I would kind of lash out at them and say, well, look at you. Who are you to give me advice, right? So when my father said that to me, that's kind of where my head was at. So on this cold January evening, or I should say nighttime, and I'm walking down the road and I'm like crying, mourning my father, and the tears are literally freezing to my face. And I said, "Dad, I understand. I understand you were concerned for me, and I'm going to do something about it. This isn't my destination. This isn't my end point. I need to do something with this information that you've shared with me. I don't want it to go in vain." So I started to take it upon myself to make some changes, but it wasn't right away. It was still probably about a year and a half, 2 years out. And, it's sad to even, well, is it that? Okay, maybe about a year out. It's about a year out. But it's still sad that I waited a year before I made that change. But I think that things happen for us for a reason. We may not understand what it is at that time. I have no idea. But what I can say is, things always happen to me for a reason. And I don't know why, I just know that they do. And there's a lesson to be learned in everything that happens, I find, in my life. So whether, if you're a very religious person and you believe in God, then you could say, look, that's a divine intervention. He's speaking to you saying you need to do this. Whether it's a higher being, whether it's the universe, whatever it is, there's something more than just us being here. And it started to move me in a direction of change. And the change was huge because I was an overweight individual. Everything hurt. Like everything hurt. Like all of my joints hurt. I had inflammation. My face was like huge and puffy, and I had man boobs. I had the whole thing, man. Like it sucked. And looking at myself in the mirror, I was not a happy individual. I mean, I'm an extrovert. I love people. And I put it out there saying, I love people. I always want to inspire people. And I want to have a meaningful existence, a life. I want to be able to be the best that I can be. But if you say these things internally and you don't put it out in the world and you don't show up, then that's a problem because it's lip service. So when I went down this road of running, changing my diet, being consistent, and trying to evolve as a human being, helping other people and whatnot, things started to align and move in the right direction, and the energy kind of followed were my thoughts. My thoughts became actions, started to show results, and it just kind of reinforced itself. But then life throws things your way, and then if you pick up an injury, you stop kind of caring for yourself. For some of us, others, we kind of get all motivated to say, oh, well, I need to continue to rehabbing and get better and just make sure it doesn't spiral out of control. And I went through all of those. I went from just kind of giving up for a while because life got too hard. I also went down the road of making sure that I got a rehab, make sure I'm still doing my exercises, but if I can't run, then I'll walk, right? Or bike or cycle or whatever it is I got to do. But I had to keep doing something. And when somebody gets sick and needs our help as a family, then we step up. We show up for our family. And we kind of put things off to the side for a short period of time during the traumatic section. But when it comes time for people to rehab, then it's like, okay, well, this is great news. They're on the right track. And then you look at yourself and go, well, why wasn't I looking after myself as well? Sometimes life comes in, gives you a kick in the butt, and you got to deal with things. The reason I say all of this is because I want you to have grace. I want you to have patience with yourself. I want you to look at the person in the eyeballs. Me talking to you. Hold on a second. Me looking right at the camera, looking right at you. You matter. You're important. You have goodness in you. What I suggest is if you're struggling, whether it's in life, whether it's in running, whether it's with your weight, whether it's with your relationships, at the end of the day, small things don't matter. Who's right and who's wrong? Okay, there's consequences, but really, does it matter? If you're injured and you're struggling dealing with the ego, does it really matter? You're going to get out and you're going to run again. It's just a matter of when you show up, when you start to realize that that is important enough to kickstart and to get going. I've had a lot of these moments in the last probably month where you start to reflect on certain things, whether it's your life or your actions or other things that are going on in the world. And you're like, these are small little things going on, but some of them can create big issues for us. And one of those things is if you're injured or if you feel like you're maybe picking up an injury, that could lead into a big problem. Then you need to kind of put on the brakes and go, hold on. I'm not ready to continue to keep running, to keep cycling, to keep doing whatever it is and making the injury worse and worse and worse. You got to step back, assess the situation, get your stuff figured out, right? Go find out what is going on. Right now, I am so happy and blessed that I had the opportunity to slow down. And remember how I said certain things in your life happen for a reason? Look, I don't wish bad things on anybody at all. But there were certain signs. Family member there's a tragedy that happens. So we all react. We all start paying attention. And while that was going on, I started to think, wow, okay, I'm also looking after myself. I'm making sure my foot is getting better. And if it wasn't for maybe this life circumstance to kind of come in and make me stop and reassess what's going on in my life, I may have actually continued to keep running when I had an injury and I wasn't paying attention to it and allowing my ego to run amok. But I didn't. I stopped, assessed the situation, dealt with family, right? And because of that, I'm like basically 100%. Today, it's the third day, my foot hasn't hurt. I've been walking a lot, and I've been making walking videos for my tour channel, right? So wherever I am, if I go for a walk, I just film the walk that I'm going on. It's on my other YouTube channel that I just started. And so that was fascinating because it allowed me to slow down. And not only that, but I've met people on my walks that I would have never met before. Very fascinating people. Very fascinating people. So I'll talk about that in another video, maybe some of the people that I've met, because some of them are pretty cool. But right now, just know that if life gets in the way, embrace it. Embrace what it is. Deal with what needs to be dealt with. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to be better off for it. Like I always say, get out and run. And this video right here that I'm sharing with you, I think can really help you because you can change your life in 90 days. A lot can change if you just start today.